Turning hard things into instincts. Habit versus instinct. We will be making a difference between habit and instinct. So, please follow along with the video. Yes, if you are not ready to go through this 15-minute slide video, I tell you, you'll be missing out a lot. And I had this video written so that if you cannot follow along with the voice, you can pause at intervals in order to read. Yes, this video is because of the potential encounters people face. Most persons will say things like, I'm thinking of starting this business, but I'm not sure if I'll be good at it. Or, I don't feel very confident. They think that since they are not master of this thing yet, they don't know if they can actually do it. As humans, when we face something in life like a particular task, knowing we are not good at it, we'll begin to wonder what the outcome will be. We'll begin to ask ourselves, what if it becomes bad? Then emotion starts to creep in. So people think, if this is hard and I'm feeling scared about it, I shouldn't do this at all, and so they don't. That is why most persons haven't achieved greatness, and that's why most people never started their own business and haven't achieved their dreams, because they try to do something that's new, resistance comes in, the emotion comes in, and they react to it. That's the sequence. Then they will withdraw as a retreat, and retreating is the worst thing that could happen in this process. So I never wished that for anybody, because you are truly dreaming to achieve a certain level and you never started it at all. That's too bad. It's a basic human nature anyway, because whenever we face circumstances or situations that is unknown to us and we can't predict what is going to happen, we tend to get emotional about it and not do it at all. It is seen happening everywhere, like when something is changed or someone does something. For example, price of a certain commodity changes, like petrol. You see, people shout and react to it, but with time, they get used to it, and no one will seem to remember or know how the old one was. The key to getting what you want and achieving the greatness you desire is by turning the hard things that are frustrating into great instinct and not just habit. What are instincts? They are those things that are hard-coded and indelibly engraved in our DNA that tells us what to do and how to function. For example, we have instinct for survival. Whenever we get into a situation that is life-threatening, it is purely flight or fight. Your cognitive mind doesn't do anything, but coming from your subconscious mind at the back of your brain, you react and then wonder afterwards what you did that you never thought about. So, think of another example. When you are driving and someone or an approaching vehicle swings into your lane, your reaction is immediate. The move you will make just happens. There is no time to think about it than react. The secret of being successful in anything is by operating on instinct. This may sound opposing to the normal way of life of people, but thinking of doing something is not often the way to do it. You can only control what you do with your conscious mind. Although most of what we do is not controlled by our thoughts, because most times we'll think of what to do and later find ourselves doing what we never thought of. From our conscious mind comes just 10%, and that's why we'll come to analysis paralysis sometimes. If you don't believe me, then why haven't you achieved some of your goals? Most times, you want to do something. You know what to do in order to achieve something. But on getting to it, your emotion comes in. You retreat to ask yourself later why you never did this. On reflecting on it, you find out your feeling to avoid pain surpassed your thoughts. It happens to everybody. Another example of instinct is to procreate. Is an invisible force that exists in both humans and animals. And when you do that, you never even have to think about it. And that's why you find yourself existing today, as well as animals of different species. You must have found out that spending a lot of time thinking about something is time and energy consuming. So if you want to achieve success and greatness, you have to turn hard things that are frustrating into instincts. Because if something is hard to do and remains hard to do, you will never be good at it. There are stages of doing this, and we'll walk through that one after the other. Number one is to identify. Identify what you have to do to get what you want. You have to look at the end of what you want to achieve. Where do you want to be 1 year, 2 years, 5 and 10 years from now, then you have to reverse that end back to today and then look for those things you have to do each step of the way. This comes from our conscious and logical mind, but the hard part is doing it and doing it every day. The second is plan. Planning, which comes from our conscious mind, is never hard but appealing when we imagine our future with it. But when you sit in front of your computer or another thing else to do the work, you begin to feel how hard it is and you begin to lose confidence. After all, I haven't done this thing before and it is harder than I thought. You see, emotion comes in, fear comes in. You become anxious and frightened, and then the message becomes clear in your conscious mind. Don't do this. And then you retreat and never come back to achieving what you want. This is normal. That's the third thing you have to bear in mind. This is the first thing you have to know already. You already know what's going to happen to you. If you place Mark Zuckerberg, the founder of Facebook, on the soccer field to engage in a track event, it's going to happen to him. That's not his area of field, and because it is not instinct for him. So when every human goes into something strange for them, it happens. And so being aware of what will happen to you will help you such that when they happen, you smile back at yourself. You know you haven't done it before, and it's normal. So you have to forge ahead. There is no guessing around. You have to look at the monster right into the eyes and push through it. You can go to any seminar in the world. You can read any self-help book in the world or become the top professor on self-improvement. Yet, if you try to do something you haven't done before, you have to face the pain, irrespective of the top university or professor you are. There is one thing with motivational speakers and these Christian gurus. Although I do not talk down on them, they are really trying and doing well, but they paint everything to just flow, be easy, free, and natural. But there is one thing: you have to do the work to get the result, because money is not going to fly naturally into your bedroom. It's better to have a positive mindset anyway than a negative one. But positive mindset alone, without action, will just make you a happy poor person. The only way to do the work is to go through the pain and get it done. Yes, there is good news, and the good news remains that it's not going to be painful forever, because the most painful time is the first time. I remember when I did sales marketing and forex trading for the first time, I was overwhelmed by my emotions and my heart nearly left me because I've never done it before. But as time passes by, it becomes a whole lot easier. When it becomes easy, it becomes fun for you. You love doing it. And whenever you want to do it, you don't have to start thinking or worrying about it. That's when half things turned into a habit. Some say it takes an average of 21, while some say 66 days to form a habit. But based on individual differences, it ranges from 18 to 254 days. So you have to repeat same thing on daily basis, first thing in the morning, to make something your permanent lifestyle. In developing habits, there are 3 steps. We have the trigger, the action, and the reward. When it comes to trigger, this happens even within animals. If you've been to a farm, like a poultry farm, you will notice that whenever the farmer begins some form of whistling with a mouth or something else, the livestock begins to gather for food. It's just like someone calling your name, Justice, and you turn to respond. That's your trigger. So, to form a particular habit, you have to ask yourself, what's my trigger? Your trigger is the allotted time for your habit. Some choose first thing in the morning, while some few hours before bedtime, depending on what it is. Following the trigger is the action, and action is doing the thing you got triggered. The reward is what you give yourself after completing the action to associate your brain. You begin to marvel. So this thing happens. So I really did this. The thing I did after my first profit was to eat native fresh fish pepper soup, in order to enjoy the taste of profit. Identify what you want. If possible, paste it around your house so you don't forget. Because if you can do this thing, you will get what you want. Have your trigger as first thing in the morning or a few hours before bedtime, as we said. Complete the action by doing that thing. Then reward yourself with something pleasing to you. Do same thing for at least 66 days to make it your habit. I recommend the use of calendar to tick each day after completing the task. The track record will help you consistently stick to the pain of doing it daily, because as human, we naturally tend and are motivated to avoid losses and to make gain. But remember, habit is not just enough. The professionals and gurus in all facets aren't just making those things their habit. Just like the flight or fight example I gave earlier, they operate on instincts, because with habits, you still have to think about it. How do you move from the level of making things your habit to operating on instincts? Yes, practice. Some people believe that people are born with some gifts and skills, but without practice to become good at it, you will achieve nothing. If you practice more than anyone else, you will become better than anyone else. There is no slowing down until you win. Even when you win and become the best in the world, you don't stop practicing. When you turn your habit into instinct, that is when you are powerful and dangerous at it. Imagine how marvelous our body works. Talking about instinct now, you can't just tell your heart to stop working and it does. Think of how you breathe while sleeping. You really know? Think of how and when you are walking on the road. You don't think so as to send every command by telling your leg to lift, step forward, release, apply small pressure on the toes, and things like that. Those are coming from the subconscious brain. They are instincts programmed into our subconscious brain. You may wonder what separates those who make from 0 to 6 figures from those who make 7 figures and who make 8 figures. It is their strategy sessions. You limit what you make to your strategy sessions. Repetition and consistency make someone rich. Work with the trigger, action, and reward code in order to convert your habits into instincts. As a student, you can make more than the gurus. It all depends on repetition, more consistent practice, and becoming obsessed in what you do that people begin to think you have a disturbed psychopath. If you enjoy this lesson, like and subscribe. And if you haven't, please enroll in my skills courses. You can earn as you learn. Your time is now. This is Synergy Squad Limited, and you can get more of this by visiting synergysquad.com. The squad of SQUARD. That's the difference. Synergy Squad Limited. Good day, friends.